Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to LinkedIn Tuesdays. We're very glad you're with us today. It is August 10th, 2021. Let's see here. For those people on Zoom, if you have questions throughout the presentation, please just put them right into the chat box. For those watching on Facebook, please just enter any questions you have in the comment field, and we'll be sure to get those questions answered for you as I am monitoring that feed. Please note this event is being recorded and is currently live on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, and if you have your microphone or camera on, you give consent for your name and picture to appear. Please note that any comments that are put in the Zoom chat window do not appear in the recording. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. Back in 2008, I started a website called careerdfw.org, a website to try to help everybody in the Dallas-Fort Worth area by putting everything you need to know about your job search in one place. In 2012, I started a second website called careerusa.org to help people outside the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I have written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search that you may not know. It is available on Amazon. Since 2007, I've been facilitating and leading the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. The group's been around since the late 1990s. I took it over in 2007, and I'll tell you about our very interesting program we have coming up this Friday morning at the end of the session. And since 2017, I've been a member of the practice interview team. The PIT crew, also known as the practice interview team. Practicing your interviewing skills is very, very important. You spend a lot of time on your resume, on LinkedIn. How much time do you actually spend practicing your interviewing skills? If you'd like to conduct and if you'd like to have a free interview, a panel interview, the PIT crew practice does it any day during the week. So if you'd like to get some information on that, please reach out to me and I will get that information to you. Well, when we started this back in last April, a year ago April, it's hard to believe we're on month 16, 17 right now. I thought, well, who do I know who knows about LinkedIn? And I reached out to Locke and Terry and Ruth and Kurt. And the great thing about having these 4 different speakers is that they all talk about LinkedIn from a little bit different point of view. They're all experts in what they do. They understand LinkedIn. They use it every day. And so the great thing about this is that, you know, they rotate through. So every month you'll see 4 different speakers and they all talk about LinkedIn from a little bit different angle. Our speaker today is Kurt VandeMotter. He's a retained executive search recruiter with the Linked Executive Search. Today he's going to talk about LinkedIn from a recruiter's eye. He's going to show us LinkedIn from the back end. So Kurt, thank you for being with us, and it's all yours.
There you go. There you go. Okay, here I am. Okay, everybody, my name is Kurt VandeMotter. I encourage you to use the conversation box that Jeff has got open, and he and I work pretty well together. So if you've got a question, make sure that you launch that into that question box, because chances are if you've got a question, somebody else may have the same question or something like it. So don't hesitate to fill that box up with questions. That's why I'm here. This is not about me. It's about you. And if I can help provide some information or help you become a little more confident with using LinkedIn, then that's what I'm here to do today. As Jeff indicated, I'm a retained search executive. So I think it's always good to start these calls off with just a little bit of a description about the different kind of recruiters, Jeff. I think that's always helpful. So just a few minutes of that time is there's really 3 different types of recruiters. There are internal recruiters. Number 1, internal recruiters. These are the people that work for the company. And so when you go into the big companies, I can remember doing some work with T-Mobile a long time ago. They probably had, 50 recruiters, but just to give you an idea, each one of those recruiters was working on anywhere from 50 to 75 different jobs. So internal recruiters typically have pretty big plates on their, they're pretty loaded with a lot of different things they're working on. And they're generally, not all the time, but they're generally working on not the most senior, not the CEO or the CFO jobs, maybe the director and sales VPs and so forth. But internal recruiters you need to know when you're talking to an internal recruiter versus an external recruiter, because the internal recruiter is working for the hiring manager directly, and they know pretty specifically exactly what their client, what that manager is looking for. And so you need to just be very specific. They're probably not going to be as creative as far as wanting to listen to your background and how you might build a bridge from one career or from one industry that you were working in to their particular industry. They're not going to be as creative because they've got so many different jobs they're trying to fill. Now, the second type of recruiter is a contingent recruiter, and contingent recruiters, they only get paid when they provide the candidate. So there's been times where I used, long time ago, I used contingent recruiters, and I might have been looking for a sales executive, and I might have reached out to 2 or 3 contingent recruiters. I didn't pay them any money until or if and when they brought me the right candidate. And they get paid based on on the base salary. They get a percentage of that. There's no fee to the candidate. Never is any fee to the candidate. And those kinds of recruiters, they're not even the ones I'm going to talk about, but anybody that calls to say that they can help you find a job and it costs only $8,000 or $10,000, you need to run as fast as you can, because there's only one person that can get you a job, and that's yourself. So don't try to pay somebody to do that for you. You've got to do the heavy lifting yourself. And sometimes I throw in the antidote on contingent, and I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus. There's good recruiters, there's good doctors, there's good lawyers, and we all know that there's bad ones too. But sometimes the contingent recruiters, when you're working with them, they might say to you something like this, that, I've got a couple of clients that might be interested in your background. Would you mind if I share your resume with them? And you want to say that it's okay if, I'd like to know the name of the company, and I'm fine with you sharing my background with one company, but I do not want you to use my resume to promote your business and to blanket 50 or 60 or 100 or 200 companies in using my resume as an example. So just know that they do that sometimes. It doesn't happen all the time, but sometimes they do, and just be aware of it and make sure you ask that question. And then retained search executives, that's what I am. And we get paid, we get retained by the company. So you hear of Korn Ferry, Stanton Chase, some of the biggest in the country. I'm just this little guy in Dallas, Texas, but I've been recognized by Forbes magazine as being the #1 best retained search firm in the state of Texas and number 10 in the United States, which is a pretty terrific win, considering that I'm competing against companies that have thousands and thousands of employees, and in this case, I'm a single shingle. So I'm a retained search executive. I get paid a retainer up front. I'm exclusive. I'm the only one that's working on the search for that particular company. And I do have a tendency to get pretty creative on my clients because I'm hiring as if I was hiring for that company. So that's the difference: internal recruiters, contingent recruiters, retained search executives. There may be others, but those are the 3 that you most are going to run into most frequently. Okay. So any questions about that so far, Jeff? Nope. Good. So, so LinkedIn, let's talk about LinkedIn Recruiter. I'm going to share my screen with you all here. Let's go to full screen. Let's go to full screen. Let's go to share screen. And I'm going to go here. Okay, that should be up now. So let's talk about the product LinkedIn Recruiter a little bit. As you can see at the top, the product I'm using is called LinkedIn Recruiter. I've got projects, I've got jobs, I've got reports that I can run. LinkedIn, a number of years ago, and I don't know how long the history of it is, but a long time ago, they developed this product called LinkedIn Recruiter. And what LinkedIn Recruiter does is it is built on a separate set of APIs that plug into LinkedIn. So my database is 100% of LinkedIn. I don't have any, I still have first, second, and third connections, but I have access to 100% of the network. If you're in LinkedIn, I have visibility to you. I can find you somehow, some way. Okay. So when I'm in LinkedIn Recruiter, though, as a candidate, I want you to know, as a candidate, you cannot see me. I don't show up anywhere. I don't show up in that section that you can, look at that says who's looked at your LinkedIn profile recently. I don't show up anywhere. And the reason is because I spend thousands of dollars with LinkedIn in order to have this product. And every time that I looked at a profile, if that candidate reached back to me and said, "Hey, I'd love to chat with you," I'd never get anything done. Okay. So for that reason, we are invisible to you as a candidate. So let's just look at what I have the ability to search for so that you can start to gain a greater insight into what my dashboard looks like as I might be looking for one of you. Okay. And Jeff, one job I'll promote today is I am looking for a office manager, operations manager for a small office in the wealth management category. I'm looking for somebody that lives or is willing to reasonably commute down to the Mansfield area. I'll get you that job brief, Jeff, as a follow-up that you can forward out to your groups and people that are looking for new opportunities. But if that fits the bill of anybody on the call or they know somebody that is looking, then that might be an opportunity you could share with them. One of the companies that I'm targeting, and we'll go in and do a little bit of searching behind this, and I'll show you how I do that work, is TD Ameritrade. They're letting go of a lot. There's a lot of turnover there because they're consolidating an office with Schwab, maybe it is. And so there's an office closing and there's a bunch of people from TD that are moving into that new office. And therefore there's a lot of turnover and consternation and so forth. So that may be a flag for somebody as well if they knew somebody over at TD Ameritrade. So when I look at LinkedIn, I have the ability to go to Spotlight. Okay, so this is that section where when you hear a recruiter or somebody tells you to turn on that box that you're open to new opportunities or you're open to work, they've called it a number of different things, then first and foremost, you can see that these are the total number of candidates that I can look at. That's pretty big number. So I'm not worried about not being able to find the right person. When I look at open to work, these are the number of people, 60 million plus, have said that they have checked the box in LinkedIn one way or another that they are open to new opportunities. Okay. And you can do that in two different ways. You can do it and tell recruiters that you're open, and that's in that box. But then you can also put a green, I call it the wreath around your head. And that tells everybody visibly that you are actively looking for a new job. I don't really have an opinion as far as which one you put, which one you check, but I encourage you that if you are an active candidate, that is somebody that is actively looking for a new job, that you do check that box. Okay. Open to work. The other one is past applicants. So I don't do a lot of posting and praying because I'm a retained search executive. So companies should be, hiring me to go find and dig that candidate out of cyberspace and not necessarily just posting the job. To give you an idea, I recently filled a COO job for a company in Dallas, Texas, and I found a guy in where did he just move? Luxembourg is where we moved him from. And the way I found him was I found his brother. I talked to his brother and he wasn't interested in relocating from Austin, but he said, "Hey, my brother's trying to get his family back from Luxembourg to the United States. They haven't lived here in 18 years and they'd like to be back. He's got twins that are going to be freshmen in high school." Well, the company fell in love with him. So I found a guy, even though it was a search right here in Dallas for a COO with a consumer packaged goods company. We went all the way to Luxembourg to find the right guy. And he comes out of Amazon, and that was what was so attractive to them. So just to let you know that I do consider and look way outside the boundaries of LinkedIn and so forth. I use my network actively. Have company connections. You're connected to me in some way, or you're engaged with my talent brand. So these are really important. You need to see how I look at those, or how somebody that's using LinkedIn Recruiter uses those. And now you can visibly see how I can literally check that box and only look at those candidates that have either open to work or have been a past applicant in this particular case.
Kurt, were you also, I mean, you skipped over or more likely to respond. Can you talk about that for a second?
Oh, yeah. That's a really good one, Jeff. I didn't mean to. Yeah, so if you didn't know this, LinkedIn keeps track of you on how you reply to messages. So if you're somebody that just replies to the messages that you want to reply to and you don't reply to all messages, then you're likely not to be in that box, which is that you're more likely to reply. So I encourage you, everybody on this call, that when you get a LinkedIn message from somebody, even if it's something you're not interested in, just thanks, not interested. Let me see if I know somebody in my network. I'll be in touch. This isn't a good opportunity for me right now. It doesn't have to be a 20-sentence article. It can just be, I'm not interested. But you know, make sure at the same time, because we're going to do a little additional coaching along the way here, that you don't make sure that you got your blinders off, and that everybody that does send you messages, there's some reason they sent you a message. They may be trying to sell you something, hopefully not. They should be looking to talk to you for a job opportunity. It may not be the right opportunity, it may not be the perfect opportunity, but just remember that you don't know what you don't know. You don't know what you don't know. And by that, I'm sharing with you that there are a number of times that I've sent a candidate in for a job, and the candidate was excited about the brand and the company and the opportunity, but it might have been a little bit below where they were at. But just based on different reasons, they were willing to take the interview. And after the interview, I get a call from the CEO that says, we're going to hire Brian for the vice president of XYZ. And I'm like, oh, that's really cool. I didn't know you had that job open. And he says, well, we didn't really have it posted. We've been talking about it from the executive level, but it's not a job that we've reached out to a recruiter. So we're going to hire him for that job. We'll pay you for that, but then continue to look to fill this other director role. So, again, I always encourage people that you really don't have to turn down job offers until you get job offers. Okay. So how many times have people turned down an opportunity before they actually had the offer? I encourage you to try not to do that. But I also understand that if it's 100% commission, or they want you to move to Juneau, Alaska, or it's something that you're just not interested in at all, that, let's be honest with each other and not waste each other's time. So I think that that's okay as well. But just at the same time, make sure you keep the blinders off, okay? So then as I go down here, I can search for titles. So if I'm looking for, we can go ahead and do this search real quick. I'm going to just have fun with it. It could be an office manager. Could be an operations manager. Let's see. It's not a sales. It's not a maintenance manager. So we'll just go with those two titles right now. And I can check current or past, or if they're just currently in that role, or current, not past, or past. So I always go to the current or past just because I get a bigger a bigger funnel. And you're going to hear me talk about a funnel occasionally. What I'm doing is as I initiate a search, I'm trying to start with as big a funnel as I possibly can. The biggest number of candidates that I can successfully manage per se. Now that doesn't mean that I when I get done with this search, if I've got 5,000 people in there, that I won't go back and try to articulate it a little bit more. But my target is somewhere between 200 and 500 people, because within a day, I can look at that many profiles. Okay. So that's why I check current or past. Location. In this particular case, I need somebody that lives in Mansfield. Okay. So Mansfield, Texas, or I'm going to put in Fort Worth, because that did this earlier. It's funny. You have to go in Fort Worth, Dallas, Fort Worth, Fort Worth, Texas. Isn't that funny how they spell it out there? Okay. They current. Yeah, I want them to live there currently, because, for any role. And again, when I started this business 15 years ago, it didn't really matter where people lived, because Dallas was a much smaller community. But if I were to, start looking for this executive, and were to be open to people in Dallas, that's about a 45, 50-minute commute each way. And people aren't going to likely do that. So that's why I start with a more geographical target for this particular role, because I know that this person's got to go to the office every day. Okay. I can do all kinds of skills, skill keywords, and I can build booleans. So I can put in operations and wealth and management. I'm not looking for in this particular case, I'm not looking for a financial, a personal, somebody that's gotten their accreditation. So I can put in and, not, and build a Boolean if I want to. I can go in here and target companies. So I told you that TD Ameritrade was one of the companies that I was looking at. So let's just go in and put TD Ameritrade in there. Okay. And then I can do current or past, and that's fine again. I don't care where they went to school. I don't care when they graduated. I don't care what industries they've worked in. At this point, I don't have any keywords, and I don't have any employment type, because this is a full-time job. And I want to look at everybody in the network, not just those people that are that I'm connected to. Okay. And in this particular case, you know what? Because you can see right here that I only have 8 candidates that meet this entire profile. You know what? Since I know TD Ameritrade is going through some consternation and changes, you know what? I don't care what part of TD Ameritrade they came out of, because I want to network with anybody over there that might know somebody. Okay. So even if I'm talking to some of these people that we'll look at here shortly, I got to move this picture out. So I'm going to go search, and now you're going to start to see people. Okay. If any of your cousins or aunt or uncle or anybody you know shows up here, just, Brian, don't laugh. Okay. So this is where I get to start to see what people are and what they've done. Okay. And so here's Erica. She's a relationship manager with TD Ameritrade. But I don't know what a relationship manager is. To me, that could be somebody that's, an office manager. They manage clients. They manage relationships. She lives in the Fort Worth area. So she's willing to, she's within a reason geographically, potentially. She's been a TD for a while. So I have the opportunity here. I can look at her, and we can go in and we'll look at her profile real quick. And she doesn't have a lot of information in here. We can click on relationship manager. We might get a little bit of color on what that job is. Sorry, my internet is like dog slow. Come on. That's somebody out. I couldn't get my camera to work last week, but okay. So when I click on relationship managers, now I'm going to get all the relationship managers that have anybody else that's got relationship manager in their background. But guess that that's 960,000 people. Okay. I don't have time to do that. So that's not going to help me at all. So I close down talent man. I closed down relationship manager. I can go to TD Ameritrade and click on that if I don't know who they are, and it'll give me some background on who they are and what the company does. I can see she graduated in Purdue just 2 years ago. So she probably has higher aspirations than being an operations or an office manager, but that's okay. I can't assume that. Okay, that would be putting me in a bad place because my job is to build relationships with people. So I'm going to go out there and I'm going to click on Mansfield and I'm just going to send Erica. I've got a template built. I've just got to make one quick change to it. I got to change their name. Okay, make sure I spell it right, Erica, exclamation point. And then I'm just trying to create a conversation with this gal, okay? Because she or maybe somebody she knows might be interested in this particular role. So now I'm going to back you guys out of here again, and I'm going to go send. Now, I have the ability if I want to, and I'm not trying to teach you how to use LinkedIn Recruiter. I'm trying to teach you how to have a better profile, a better presence on LinkedIn, okay? So I'm going to click out of Erica, but I have when I'm in there, I have the ability to add her to a project, save to a project, so I can then tell my team that this is somebody that I'm looking at. I can tell everybody that I've already sent her a message. Okay, so I can do all those kinds of things, and it becomes a little mini kind of CRM tool that my team and I can use as we're searching for people. So this is what I'm scrolling through and looking at every day. Okay.
So, Kurt, Brian asked, how come Erica ended up above Sean and Jesse? I mean, do you know why one's over the others?
I don't know. Nope. But let's go back and look at one thing. I don't know. I've never asked that question. Nobody's ever asked me that question. She's got such a simple profile. There's nothing in here, y'all. This is not a model profile, just so you know. This is not one that if I was doing, I just finished a search for a vice president ER over in Tampa, Florida. This would not have been a profile that I would have clicked on and had any interest in, because there's no information about what she's done. But I've got to put on a different lens right now. I'm looking for this operations manager, and I know that TD Ameritrade's going through changes, so I'm willing to talk to anybody over there. But I don't know why Erica's ahead of Sean or Jesse or anybody else. I don't know the answer to that. And I'll ask my LinkedIn person and see if they can give me any color.
So it's very interesting that they go and they say that they're open to work, but yet their profile has nothing in it to make you want to reach out to them.
Right, exactly. I mean, here again, here's a correspondence representative. She was a financial services representative. She was second. Notice that she's second TD Ameritrade. When we looked at Erica, Erica was number one TD Ameritrade. I have TD Ameritrade as a company I'm looking for. That could be one of the reasons, but I don't think so. If we looked at more, I think we're going to find people that are currently there. But again, here's one that people have got the opportunity to give me a lot of information about themselves and who they are. And nobody's really doing it. Nobody's taking advantage of LinkedIn. Here's one that we've got now. He was a TD Ameritrade just recently. So that throws that last thought out. But here, Aaron, he's got a summary in there, okay? But his summary is just experienced senior retail trading specialist with demonstrated history of working in the financial, okay? So not a very long summary, okay? He is indicated that he is.
He did say he's open to work.
He did say he was open to work. And so if he's open to work, he's not giving us a whole lot of information. This whole summary section, everybody needs to take advantage of that. I don't know that, Jeff, you know the number off your top of your head, but I think it's like 1,000 characters that you can put in there.
I think it's 200 now.
What is it, Jeff?
2,200.
2,200. So, you know, he hasn't taken advantage of that at all as far as making or giving a recruiter any more insight into his background. He's done a good job of, excuse me. He's done a good job of giving us the different jobs that he's had. Excuse me. But he hasn't given us any data about those jobs and what his accomplishments were. So again, very huge opportunity for us to learn from Aaron as far as what he can put in there a lot more detail. But in this particular case, as a recruiter, I'm not really concerned because he's at TD Ameritrade today. And if he lives in Fort Worth, he may be looking to get out of TD Ameritrade, and maybe my company would be interested in this guy because he's interested in getting a CFA, and maybe he's working towards that accreditation. So I still would want to talk to the guy versus, and again, this is a small audience. What I probably ought to do, just for grins, Jeff, is let's go over to Tampa and just do HR people. Okay. And I think you'll see a bigger group of people. And we'll clear them all. And we're going to go to Tampa. And we're going to put in a job title. We're going to put in human resource. In this particular case, it was a vice president role, but the base salary was only $110,000. So I wasn't necessarily looking for people that were VPs. I was looking for people that were managers. And then I was looking for people that were human resource directors, okay? And Tampa we got, I don't need TD Ameritrade, I can take that out. And there's something else in there, so this should start to generate a bunch of people for us to look at. Okay, so here I got 468 people, okay? The company in this particular case that I was looking for, the company was in the hospitality space. So they own about 700 properties that they rent by the week. And so they have no HR. They don't have any HR in their organization. They have a couple of recruiters. But they had nobody in HR. So as I was looking through here, mining and metals, if you look at Vincent, mining and metals is not going to probably work for this organization because it's somebody that has to have some kind of hospitality or some kind of managing, I want to say just white collar people, but because he certainly would have that experience. But somebody that has had a dash of hospitality because the company was looking for pedigree, okay? So Vincent doesn't check that box. Oil and Energy and Lisa doesn't check that box. I've got 460 people I can go through and need to go through. So you're going to start to see where somebody in here pretty quickly is going to have experience working for one of there's healthcare, probably not a good fit. And again, you might be sitting there saying, why are you excluding all those people if you're looking for a VP of HR? These people live there. They may be interested or they may know people. Well, what I'm looking for in the target zone is so small for this organization. It doesn't require me to build 200 relationships. I only need to build relationships with about 100 people. So here we go again. I'm just looking for somebody, pathway, vet, pathway, via alliance, blink. Defense and space isn't going to work. Recruiting isn't going to work. Hospital healthcare wasn't going to work. Cosmetics wasn't going to work. And I could go in and go back and go in and do this, and that will skills and assessments, companies, go here and put in hospitality. Now that number's going to shrink big. So it only shows me 8 people, but I need more than 8 people. Okay. So I can look at this gal here. Mosaic, she's been in contract. I don't know what Mosaic is. I can find out who they are by looking here. It's company efficiency, profitability, automizing, planning, management, and tracking of time. Okay. Not a lot of simulation between what I'm doing and trying to find where she maybe had the hospitality, and it's not popping up other than maybe, nope. So I don't consider this a hospitality person, but Mosaic is probably selling products and services to the hospitality industry. That's all I can think of. Jeff, have we got any questions out there? Well, I didn't mean to go back that far.
No, I was thinking, no. Well, yeah, Kevin asked, what's the default geographic distance from a target city? So if you put in Fort Worth, would it have picked up HEB, the HEB area or anything?
Yeah, so absolutely it will. Now you can put in, again, you can put your zip code into LinkedIn. I can do searches for, so it's really, they've given us a lot more in this particular area than we used to before. Okay, I can just do 75205. I thought you could. Maybe it's over here. Hold on. Degrees, they used to be able to have that.
It's right there, the second one down, I think. Go up a little bit, up a little bit.
Yep.
There you go, postal zip code.
Yep. Yep. Thank you. Dallas, Texas. And I can say, oh, it didn't take. Okay. And I can do within miles. So I can go within, 100 miles of there, 50 miles, 10 miles. Okay. So yeah, I can literally put in zip codes to get very specific with people. But if your question is, if you haven't put your zip code in there and you've just got Dallas, then you're going to pop up in the Dallas Fort Worth search. When I go in and do, when I came over here, I can go here and do Dallas, and I can do Dallas Fort Worth, or I can do Fort Worth. Okay. I can do Texas. I can do Northern. Let's go to Northern Ireland. I don't think I can do Northern Texas. No. So it does give us quite a bit of flexibility, but you should be just fine if you're putting in Dallas. Now, the question that some candidates ask is, I'm open to relocation. So we see a lot of candidates where they don't give us a location. They just kind of list themselves as anywhere. And I won't say that it's a red flag for recruiters, but it's because I'm just one recruiter that you're talking to. There's thousands of us out there. For me, it requires me to peel back another layer of the onion that I don't already know. And where I've got lots of candidates that are telling me that they live in that geographic area, then I'm more likely to start with them than the people that show up as, that they are in the US or they're willing to be anywhere. Anytime a recruiter has to relocate a candidate, it just adds a lot of hair to the ball. And so it's not that we don't want to relocate. We don't like to relocate. That individual that I told you I moved back from Europe. I mean, it was as much his decision as it was, obviously at the end of the day, it was his decision to move back. But it was very costly for he and his family because the relocation package wasn't rich, because it wasn't a huge company. So he and his family had to invest quite a bit of money just to get back themselves. But anyway, anytime you relocate, you got kids, you've got schools, you've got all kinds of, am I going to be able to find a house down there? All that stuff that's going on. So it just, it adds a lot more complexity to the whole situation.
Jason asked, could candidates list where they're willing to relocate in their headline or in their summary statement?
Yeah, you can. I mean, if it's multiple places, then that would be a good way to do it because you can't list yourself as living in multiple places. That's pretty valuable space. So I probably would highlight that in my summary. You might be able to just, if you're looking for new opportunities, you might use the header to say relocatable to and put, AZ, TX, FL, maybe just a few state names like that. That might be an appropriate way to get there.
There is no flag for open relocation, right? I mean,
Nope.
No, okay.
No.
So one of the things I think I want to point out to everybody, all those profiles that we looked at, not one person had a phone number or an email address to make it easy. Kurt, what's your preferred method of contacting somebody?
Well, when I'm going through 100, 200 profiles a day, if I have an email address or a phone number of a candidate that I find interesting, they are at the top of the list. But I go about it chronologically. So if I've got, I'm looking at 200 profiles and I find somebody that's interested and they don't have an email address or a phone number, I'll send them an in message. It's not like I'm going to put them off and come back to them. I'll go ahead and send them a message. But it's when I get a name and a phone number of somebody, they go right into my database and they're like in the green category. Because I've got a way to keep to reach these people. If they don't answer an email, I can send them, I can call them directly. But when I'm dealing with LinkedIn, all I've got is the ability to communicate with you via an in-mail. And I know this is going to sound stupid, y'all, but it happens every day almost. I got a message just this last week from somebody, and it was a job that I had communicated with him about 2.5 years ago. And I had to send him a note back and say, dude, you better start looking at your LinkedIn messages a little bit more often. This is really, really old, like me. No. So anyway, there's no guarantee when I send in mails. I send, LinkedIn trains you as a recruiter to write really powerful in-mail messages. And some of you have gotten those messages in the past where it's better written than some of the others. Some of the key is we try to write it short. I try to include their name somewhere in it so that it looks a little bit more personal. But we're all creating templates and sending these things out, in bulk, not in bulk, but we'll send 50 or 60 messages out in a day. And so we're trying to be as attractive to you as a candidate as you're trying to be attractive to me as a recruiter. It's the same thing, but a differentiator is give me your phone number and email address and let's get talking.
Can you talk a little bit about keywords, about what makes people stand out?
Absolutely. So keywords is the number one way that recruiters find people. Okay. In the two searches that we looked at, I didn't really have a chance to dig into the keywords because it wasn't appropriate based on the numbers that we were searching for. But another role that I'm trying to fill, if anybody knows anybody that does this work, this is a purple squirrel. I am looking for an IT director. It's basically the CIO of the company, but it's an IT director role. And I am looking for a data architect. So they have responsibility to manage the organization, the IT help desk, and those people that service about 80 employees today. But this person is going to be responsible for writing code and helping as the company has built the strategy and what needs to be done from a data perspective. Now the architect needs to be built so that the information and the content that they've got in the cloud and in the warehouses that they've got can be accessed through these different tools that they're going to build for this organization. And they're in the wealth management space. It's a multi-billion-dollar organization, and it's in San Antonio, Texas, an amazing company. But we've been able to find people that have managed people in IT that write the code, but we also need somebody that knows how to write the code. So it's not only manage people that write code, but you got to be able to write the code yourself. Doesn't mean you're going to be writing all the code yourself, or anybody that would be interested in this role, but they're going to write a lot of code. And then they've got to be able to manage that code after it's written. If it's written by a third party, they've got to be able to make modifications, changes, updates, and so forth to it. So that's another opportunity. In that particular case, I would go into keywords, Jeff, and I would look for data architect, IT architect, data scientist. I mean, I'm still looking for this person. So every time I come across another way to describe what this person is and who they are, I go in and put those keywords in there to see if I can find that purple squirrel or somebody different than I've been talking to thus far.
Can you put in purple squirrel? Is that a search term?
No, but I probably could. That'd be really interesting. We should just look at that for fun. But so Jeff, now I answered the question, how I look at keywords, but for everybody on this call, let's put it into action for you. You saw a lot of profiles where there wasn't a lot of content, there weren't a lot of keywords around what they did or what their background was. You've got the ability to do that. So one of the things when I'm coaching candidates on their search is to make a list of the 50 keywords that you would use to find yourself. Okay. And it maybe is 100 words. I don't care. But then I want you to go find ways and places you can put those keywords into your LinkedIn profile, because that's where and how we will find you. And as silly as it might seem, years ago, I just have to tell the story because it's years ago. If you were in the beverage industry today, there is route settlement. Okay. So when I was in the beverage industry, we had trucks that drove around town all day. They had product on their truck. They didn't have any money in their safe or anything, but they went out and they delivered product. They sold product. They got cash. They got, all that. They came back. And in the old days, guys, because I'm old, it was all done on a piece of paper. Okay. It was there were like 3 copies of that settlement. And at the end of the day, it gave the accountant or the person behind the screen, this is what my reconciliation is. This is how much product I took out. This is how much I sold. This is how much money I owe you now. And it was a route settlement. Well, that term isn't as vulnerable today. Companies still do route settlement, but there's a lot of different adjectives. But if you, for instance, came out of the industry and you're in a CPG world and you've been a part of route settlement, that may be a key word that you put in there, because you just don't know what and how differentiating just a keyword like that could be to being found by somebody. So dig back into even some of the old words that might have been used when you were when you were in business, and see if those aren't appropriate to bring into your current profile somewhere, somehow.
Now, remember, you've done searches before, and you put a keyword in, somebody pops up, and the keyword is only there one time.
Yep.
Sort of question, well, do they really have that experience when it's only one place. They have a pretty complete profile. They have a big summary state or a big about statement and in their skill section, but they don't mention that one skill except in one place. And I think I remember you looked at it and said, you know, I'm going to keep looking here because they only mentioned it once.
Right. Yep. Keywords are really, really important. And I think that when you hear some of the other presentations, a lot of the other speakers talk about the importance of keywords. It's just a critical, you know, because so many times, so recently I was looking for, I was trying to connect with some of you may know Bob Walker. He was with Morgan Stanley. He runs an organization in Dallas called FANG, F-E-N-G. It's the Financial Executive Network, is what FANG stands for, network group. It's a national organization. If any of you are in finance, it's a group that you should probably look at or look at, see if there's any meetings coming up that would be appropriate. But I couldn't find his name is Bob or Robert, and I couldn't find him in LinkedIn. So I went to Google and I found him even more quickly. So recruiters are using all kinds of different tools today and building Boolean searches right in Google and using search engines to help them, and not always just using the keyword section within LinkedIn as well. So the recruiting industry has gotten to be very technical, and that's why your keywords are so important.
So we only have a few more minutes left. Could you top 2 or 3 things that you think everybody needs to do on LinkedIn?
Well, first and foremost, if you are open to work, you're looking for a new opportunity, make sure you check that box. More importantly than anything else, and I'd go ahead and check it with the wreath around it to just let everybody. Not every recruiter uses LinkedIn Recruiter, and so that gives visibility to other people. Secondly, make sure your contact information is in your LinkedIn summary section, your email address and your phone number. This is not Match.com. You don't have to take phone calls from people that you don't recognize their phone number. You can let it go to voicemail and call them back. If you get an email from somebody that's inappropriate, you can delete it. You never have to speak to them again. So you're not giving them your home address or where your children live, where they go to school. So there's really no risk. You can take it out of your profile after you land your next job. So I just really highly encourage candidates to use those tools to help and make it easier for recruiters. And then the third thing is just make sure your profile is filled out. You've got valuable free space there. And that's maybe the fourth thing. People ask me all the time, the paid version versus the free version. The free version works just fine. You don't need the paid version. And there's nothing that you could do in LinkedIn Recruiter that would be the value to spend the thousands of dollars that you use, that we spend to have that product. So the LinkedIn basic product is just fine, but take advantage of that free product and use that billboard and fill it up with as much content as you possibly can. Content is king now.
Well, Kurt, thank you very, very much. Great presentation. Thank you for your time today.
I'm going to back off. I'm going to leave, Jeff, because I've got to go get on a client call right now.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeff, as always. Appreciate you and everything you do. You're an amazing individual, and thanks for your continued support of this community.
Thank you very much. Thanks for those kind words.
Any day.
Right. Next week, our speaker is going to be Locke Alderson. He'll talk about how to use LinkedIn for job hunting, strategies that get results. We'll dig into your profile. We'll dig into what your profile needs to have, where you need to put things. So please join us next week, next Tuesday for that. All right. I need everybody to please raise your right hand and please repeat after me. I, Jeff Morris, promise to always send a personal note whenever I send a LinkedIn request to connect with anyone. This includes when I use my cell phone or my computer. So please, please, please always do that. I get LinkedIn requests every day, and it's that generic invitation, and those just sit in my inbox because I never look at them. Send me a personal note and I'll be glad to connect with you. Tell me where you saw me, why we should connect. Tell anybody you want to connect with why you should connect, because you're starting to build that bond with somebody. Career DFW and Career USA, we're putting on training 4 days a week now. So please join us tomorrow for Interviewing Wednesday. We'll be on session number 2, preparing for a specific interview, limited time for interviews, and networking. So that'll be tomorrow. The presentation is about 95 minutes long. So, just so you can set your time, it'll go from 1 to 1:35 tomorrow. For networking, for Thursdays, we're now combining networking and resumes, first and third and second and fourth. Being this the second Thursday of the month, we'll be talking about networking, a secret weapon to simplify your networking efforts. This was Sonia Lowry. Sonia is a vice president at Lee Heck Harrison here in Dallas. I've seen her. I actually helped build her presentation with her over the weekend. So it's a great presentation. And the secret, well, I'm not going to tell you what the secret is, but you join us on Thursday and you'll find out what her secret is on how to network and how to make things go a little bit easier for yourself. This Friday at the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group, I told you we had a really interesting program, how to find target companies using reference solution. If you don't have a list of target companies, and that target company list should be 20, 30, 40, 100 companies. I mean, you don't do 100 of them in 1 week, but you take 5 a week and you start focusing on those. How do you find those target companies? What other companies? I mean, do you know all the companies here in the DFW area? Probably not. I've been doing this 13 years now, for almost 14 years. And every week I'll see in the chat or when we were meeting in person, I'll see a company's name that I've never heard of before. So how do you find those companies? Because you just never know. So join us, Mike and Kip have a great presentation on how to use reference solution. The one key takeaway early is if you do not have a public library card, go to your public library now, fill out the application, do it online if you can, get that library card, because Friday after this presentation, you're going to want to take what they've learned, what they teach you, and apply it and go jump on the reference solution and you access it through your public library. If you'd like to join the Career DFW and Career USA LinkedIn groups, you're welcome to do so. We just recently, this past weekend, passed over 13,200 members. So you're welcome to join. You're welcome. You don't have to live in the DFW area to join the DFW group. You can join both groups. It's just a way for you to expand your connections. This session has been recorded. It will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel. It'll be up on YouTube in a couple hours. It takes YouTube a couple hours to process it. Please follow us on Facebook. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. The more people that do that, the more features that open up that allow us to do some new things with both of those platforms. On the Career USA YouTube channel, it looks something like this. Click on playlist. When you go to it by default, it won't be on playlist. It will just be home. It'll just be random videos. But if you click on playlist, then up will come resumes, interviewing, LinkedIn, North Dallas Plano. You can find the different categories that I've put together. Don't click on the video, but click down below where it says view full playlist. And when you do that, up will come a list of all the different events that have been recorded. And you can go back and you can watch any of those as often and as much as you need to. If you're not receiving emails about our workshops through a different group of some sort, you're welcome to join the Career USA mailing list by just sending an email to Career USA, the +subscribe at groups.io. I will put that email address up here at the very, very end. Please remember, Career DFW, we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Career DFW, we have no full or part-time employees. All of our speakers are volunteers. I'm a volunteer. Everything I've done over the last 13 years has just been to help you land your next great opportunity. Career DFW, we survive on donations. Please consider making a donation when you get your next job. So thank you very much for joining us today. Hopefully we'll see you later in the week. Have a great afternoon.